All right, we're going to be working on a web page right now. I'm going to give you an introduction to HTML, so it gives you a little bit of context to what you've been learning. So we're going to go through some real basics here. First of all, I've got my folder here on my desktop and it says my web page. Hopefully you can see it, but it is really tiny there. The thing about the web is it doesn't like spaces between words. So I'm going to go ahead right off the bat and change that. I'm going to say my underscore web underscore page. And I'm going to open that up now. And you'll see in here there is a web page. And again, it says my space web space page. We want to fix that. I'm going to go ahead and rename it by right-clicking it, going down to rename, and I'll say my web page, substituting in underscores where there were spaces. All right, for this exercise, you're going to need an HTML editor. Now, I like Atom, A-T-O-M. It's free, it's a quick download, but you can use other applications such as Notepad if you're on a Windows machine. You can use TextEdit if you're on a Macintosh. You may have to tweak the settings a little bit. And for the Chromebook, I'm sorry, I can't really help you there. I don't have a Chromebook, but there are offerings for free text editors in Chromebook. So you'll have to look for that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and now open up my HTML page in Atom. Let's see, I'm going to open up new, let's see, I'm opening up file in my web page. And I've got just a little bit of a starter here. Okay. Oh, I've got a little error there. Okay, so a web page is nothing more than text. That's all it is. Despite all the beautiful visuals that you can see, it was written as text. Okay, if I go to my browser, for instance, I've got my Google page up here. You want to see what the code looks like that went into building this page. All you have to do is right-click on it, go down to View Page Source, and here it is. That's the actual page for the Google search page. All right, it's pretty cool. This one's pretty simple, but there's a lot behind the scenes. Okay, so there you go. You can inspect it to see what the actual HTML looks like. I'm going to take you through just a little bit of that HTML so that you kind of have a feeling for how it all works. Okay, first of all, I put in a line here. You don't have to memorize this, but I put in a line here that says this document is an HTML document, so that when you double click on it, the computer knows, oh, I've got to open this up in a browser or some similar program. Then we've got to say this HTML is in the language English, and then I give it instructions for what characters are accepted use. All right, again, this is nothing that you typically have to deal with. Okay, but I do want to just let you know kind of how this works. For every opening tag, there is typically a closing tag. So I've opened up HTML, and I'm going to close that tag with a /HTML. So now this opens, woo, sorry about that. This opens the HTML, this closes it. So when the browser is reading it, it comes to the end and says, okay, I'm done. I'm done with the HTML part of this. All right. Now, let's go ahead. I'm going to just give myself a couple of spaces in which to work. In every web page, there is an invisible section and there's a visible section. The invisible section holds things like a description of the page, a title of the page that shows up at the top. Within the visible section, you'll see the web page, all right, the search bar, the content of the page, the images, and all that kind of thing. And those are held in two tags here. I'm going to go ahead and start this first one off with the head tag. Okay, and I'm going to also create the closing tag for the head. So everything within this space right here will be invisible. Now everything within the visible section of this is going into the body tag. I'll go down a couple spaces and close that tag. Okay, so there we go. I've got my invisible section, I've got my visible section. Go ahead and save that as it is. And let's see here. Let's go ahead and in our head tag, we're going to create a title. Okay, title, there we go. Okay, so my title for this is my web page, and then I'm going to end that title tag right there, close it. This is the item that shows up at the top of your browser when you open up a page. Okay, so I'll go ahead and get rid of the spaces there. It doesn't matter, those spaces don't actually show up. It's just for your visuals to make it easier for you to see. And then I'll put in my body something like my first web page. There we go. Go ahead and save that. And I can go to my browser now and hit Control O to open that. Go to my desktop. All right, I had to pause there for a moment and correct something because I forgot to put my .html extension on my web page. If you forget to put the .html extension on here, the computer doesn't know what to do with it. And so this is what you'll get if you open up a page. You open it up, it's going to actually show you the structural part of the page, which is not what we want. What we want is that right there. That's what we wanted, my first web page. And you'll notice up here the title showing up that says my web page. Okay, so I've corrected that. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the other one, just so you guys can understand. You know, when you see that .html extension on there, it's telling the computer what to do with it. All right, same with a docx file or a txt file or MOV file. All of those are extensions to tell the computer what to do. Okay, so here we are back at our HTML. You don't have to remember all of this stuff. The three things that I want you to remember up till this point is, first of all, there's structure to this, that when you open up a tag, you usually have to close it. Now you'll notice this tag right here does not have a closing tag. It's one of the special ones. There are a few. I've opened up a head, I've closed the head. I opened up a title, I closed the title. Okay, and you close that with a little slash. And the last thing here up to this point is there's an invisible section, that's in the head, and there's a visible section, that's in the body. Okay, so let us go ahead and create a header tag. Now this is typically what you see at the top of the page. So I'm going to go ahead and put a header in here and say this header is usually at the top of the page. Close that off. Header. And guess what is at the bottom of the page? You've got it, a footer. This footer is usually at the bottom of the page. Close that tag. Okay, we'll just go ahead and take a look at that real quick. Okay, so there's no formatting to this. There's just text. Okay, what we would do with those tags is we would connect them to another document that has all of our formatting rules in it called cascading style sheets. we're not going to be concerned with that at the moment. I just want to give you sort of the background of HTML at this point. If I wanted to add, let's say, an image, okay? There's a couple of parts to an image. I'm going to go ahead and put it, I'll put it beneath this text. All right, an image tag is IMG. All right, if you spell out image, it won't work properly. IMG, and then you want to tell it what the source is, okay? So the source equals, and then whatever goes in the quotes is the actual file path to the image. I'll explain that in a moment. Okay, lastly, it needs what's called alt text. And the alt text is text that shows up if the image fails to load or something like that. So in this case, I'm going to use, let's say, a t-shirt image. Okay, t-shirt. And I'll go ahead and close that up. Now, I have not put in my source here yet. I'll show you what you have to do that. You have to create a place for it to be so that your file can reference it properly and it stays in the same place in relationship to the HTML document. Okay, I have created an image here. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to copy that. Okay, go back to my desktop, my web page. Now, in my folder, in my project folder, I want to create a folder called images. And that's where I want to keep all of my images. Go ahead and paste it into there. So you can see, I'll go back here. Yeah, so I've got my web page, I've got a folder called images, and inside my images, I have my t-shirt with logo. Okay, when I go back to my HTML file, I have to type in the whole file path from my HTML document to the image. So I'm going to type in images slash. What this means is this is a folder. Okay? Images slash, and I better get the name right. I'll just go ahead and copy that name. It has to include the .jpg. Come on, you. I want back. There we go. And I'll go ahead and paste that in place. All right, so I got my image with my source. That's a file path. And then the alt t-shirt. So let's go ahead and save that. And now when I go and refresh my page here, which is Control R, I can see this big image here. And there's the rest of my text at the bottom. Okay, why it's really important to have all your folders and your file structure in place is that if they ever get separated, go ahead and open this back up. Let's say I took my web page out of my folder and set it on the desktop. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and open that up, and I get this broken link with my alt text. It's because it can't find the image. It's no longer in the same place in relation to the HTML file. That's super important. This happens all the time when I'm teaching HTML. For some reason, people move stuff around after they've built the page, and you get broken links. So it's important to establish your filing structure up front and then put everything in its place and then leave everything there. Really, really important. Okay? Good filing structure keeps everything together, keeps your stuff from getting broken. All right, I'm going to toss that back in. Go back. If I open it back up, it can find it. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. Okay. Now, let's talk about anchors real quick. Most of you have been able to click on a link at some point and have the browser go to some content. Show you how that is done. But first of all, I'm going to put in here, let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and and put a link in here. Say my first link. Okay, but that's not a link yet. I have to give it some code, and it's called an anchor tag. A for anchor. And then I have to tell it where to go. So I'm going to say href. Don't ask me why. I don't know why. And I'm going to give it a name. I'll say headline 1. Close that off. Come to the end of it and close off my anchor tag. Okay? So I'll show you what this looks like. Go back to my browser real quick and refresh it. Control R. So there's my picture. And down here at the bottom, there we go. Down here, you can see my first link. Okay, and if I click on it, nothing really happens because I haven't given it the place to go yet. All right. So now I'm going to add a bunch of text in here. I went and grabbed some non-copyrighted stuff right out of the Bible, so I don't have to worry about being sued. I'll go ahead and paste that into there. Woo! Kind of blew up my formatting, but not really. Okay, so here we go. I've got a bunch of text in here. I'm going to come down here someplace, and I'm just going to put in my headline. I'm going to give it a header tag. All right, so H1, there's a bunch of different header tags. H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, H6, and that seems to indicate the level of importance on a page. So an H1 tag would be a big headline, whereas an H6 might be a really small headline. All right, and then I'm going to give it an ID, and let's see here, what did I say? Headline 1. Okay, give it an ID. Headline 1. I'll say my headline. And then I'm going to close off that H1 tag. I think my headline doesn't actually get the hash mark. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at that. I'll refresh that page, and sure enough, I've got a bunch of text, and I can see where my headline is. So if I go back and I click on my first link, yeah, there we go. It pops it up so that I can see that. That's how an internal header link works, or an anchor tag. An internal anchor tag works. All right. If I wanted to go to a different page, let's say I wanted to go to Amazon, I could say that's how you would do that. All right. So that's how you create a link in HTML. But I'm going to go ahead and undo that. All right, just a couple of last things here. How does Google find your page? It's a good question, right? Well, it's in the invisible section right up here. Not only does it search the content, but it searches some intentional information that you put up here in the form of what's called a meta tag, meta content, meta description. There are several meta tags. Meta meaning about, self-referential. So meta, to describe the page, I'm going to go ahead and say meta name equals description. Description. And then I'm going to say content equals. All right, so this would be the description that shows up on a SERP, all right, search engine results page. Okay, so I'm going to say the holodeck logo wear white t-shirt. Okay, and then close up my tag. Now the meta does not get a closing tag. And then I'm going to give it some keyword search terms. Meta name equals keyword, keywords, keyword or keywords? Yeah, it's keywords, okay? And then content, content equals, and then whatever content you think should be in there. So I think I'm going to give it a long tail one at first. We'll say holodeck white t-shirt. Most people don't use the hyphen, so I'll just do that. And then I'll say t-shirt, white t-shirt, holodeck logo. All right, so it's whatever you think is going to produce results on that SERP page. All right. So two meta tags, description, and keywords. All right. And then lastly, I'm going to show you how the page gets to the web. Okay. So I'll go ahead, first of all, just show you what this looks like. I'll refresh the page. Now you'll see here that the meta tags don't show up. All right. Those are invisible. All right. So meta tags don't show up. I'll show you how this gets to the web now. Go ahead and just hide this. Okay, I'm going to have to move this to a place where I've got all my stuff set up. There we go. Okay, now in Dreamweaver that's a program that I use. I've already got it set up here such that I can upload stuff. Okay, I've got files and I've got my settings already done. So you didn't get to see that part. It's tedious, it's obnoxious, but you'll notice here that I've got my public HTML folder, I've got my class projects folder that you saw, and then I've got my web page here that I put that folder. I put that into my folder setup, and all I have to do now is click upload, put files, and it'll take a moment. It'll ask me questions. I'm going to say no. Et voila. That should be on the web right now. So what I could do is go. There we go. Okay, so that is being served on the website now. All right, so there you go. Those are the basics of HTML, probably more detail than you wanted, but it's not hard to sort of see. There's a structure to it. There's a method to it, and once you've learned some of the basics, it's not hard to actually create web pages from scratch. All right, I hope you learned something. Hope you enjoyed that. Signing off.